Dave Zwang with What They Think, and with me is Dwight Vicks, who is the president of Vicks, Vicks Printing, I guess. Dwight, first of all, thanks very much for sitting down with me. Tell me a little bit about Vicks.
Well, thanks, David. Glad to be here. We've actually changed to Vicks Print and Distribution because we do both. But we're a family-run company. I'm third generation. The company was founded in 1918, ironically, when the last pandemic affected the country. And it's been a journey. I mean, very few companies make it to 100 years. We'll be 105 in November. So we started as a letterpress operation. My grandfather and his brother bought an internal print shop from a textile company. When my dad came back in 57, that transition to offset was occurring, and he mortgaged everything to buy the first offset press. And then I came back in 91 when the digital revolution, that's what I call it anyway, was just beginning, where we were receiving electronic content on a disk instead of an artboard. And then we evolved into a web offset house. We've always done a little bit of a distribution. We got into digital in 2003, and now we're just completely digital in distribution. So it's been quite a journey.
So is it primarily direct mail? You do transactional work, commercial, a little of all of the above?
We're a softcover book manufacturer. We try to find niche publishers that we can help manage their content, both in printing it as well as distributing it for them. That's the best sweet spot value added we can bring. And we've been a book printer probably for the last 40 years.
Okay, that's and it's interesting because while people think that book printing is went the way of the iPads, etc., and the tablets, that's actually not the case at all.
Well, there's still survivors like us, but there's a lot fewer book printers than there used to be, because obviously, and it's not just a book that you and I would read for fun, it's phone books. We used to do millions of those, or directories. Those have all gone to the internet. It's obviously a much easier and cheaper way to deliver that content. But I agree with you, there's still the need, and I think there always will be the need for the printed book.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you started, I mean, you're over 100, not you, but the company's over 100 years old. You've been through letterpress, you've been through offset, and now you're in digital. Do you still have some offset equipment, or have you gone completely digital?
We retired our last heat set web in December of last year. So we are completely digital now. And, this was really just following the needs of our customers. We serve publishers that have thousands of titles, and they have a majority of titles that don't sell very many. And so I came back in 91 and they kept saying to me, can't you print 250 at an economical price? Because they were forced from the economics of offset to order 1,000, which was a 4-year supply. And of course that ties up cash, fills up warehouses, and in some cases they don't sell 1,000, so it goes into the trash bin. So we just answered that call by putting in digital equipment in 2003, cut sheet toner devices, to offer them a solution to their need to print very small quantities of their long tail of their catalog. And of course, the average run length of our customers has come down over the years. We don't do the 100,000 runs anymore. I mean, they do exist, but they're really rare. And it's very difficult to justify, massive heat set webs unless you have a ton of volume. But our customer base was going in the other direction.
So you're using the HP T240 for book blocks, I take it, and maybe self-cover stuff. Do you have anything else to do covers? You still have some cut sheet where you're doing your cover work, or?
Yeah, so the cover we print on an iGen, and most of our covers are 4-color, right? So that works very well for that. So most of what we do is a bound product that has a cover. We do a little bit of self-cover stuff. And we not only do book blocks for perfect bound and lay flat books, we do saddle stitch books as well.
Do you so most of your finishing then is offline or nearline, I would take it, you bindery as opposed to inline. I assume you've got enough variation in the kind of work you're doing that inline doesn't necessarily make sense for all of it.
So that was like one of the biggest challenges we had to come to grips with on the going inkjet. Our cut sheet devices have booklet makers on the end of them, so we can come out with a saddle stitch book. And we have a small perfect binder to do very small quantities offline. But being traditionally a web house, we have these massive binders with all these collating stations, and we were used to the world of signatures. Well, in inkjet, you don't have signatures anymore, right? So what we did is a little bit late in the game. About a year ago, we put a book block maker attached to the HP. We bought a Magnum, and that's been phenomenal as well. So it comes out with a very well put together book block that we then just put into a Selima book block feeder into our Colbus binder when we're doing perfect bound. But for saddle stitch, we divert the roll and we rewind it off of the HP, and then we take it offline and we bring it over to a new Presto saddle stitcher we bought from Mueller Martini. And that unwinds the roll and reads every page so that it knows, where am I supposed to cut this? Am I supposed to fold it as a 4, 8, 12? And then I got to gather the right number of pages so I have a complete set, release it, join it with the cover, stitch it, trim it, and we're off to the races.
So you've obviously made the move to digital. Seems like you've stabilized and you've kind of found out the best ways to manage that. What do you see in the future?
It's been tough being a book printer for the last 15 years because of, really, I think the biggest thing is technology changed what's delivered in paper versus what can be consumed electronically. And there was some excess supply in our industry, and there was some offshore sources. So there's a lot of pressure, and that's why there's very few of us left. Coming out of COVID was actually really refreshing because our phones started to ring again, and people were asking us to do books, which was awesome. So I guess those of us that have survived are at least I think we're well positioned to meet that demand that still exists and will exist forever.
Oh yeah.
And so we've been, we definitely grew coming out of COVID, but like many industries, people overbought. So inventories are a little bit high right now. So our demand has softened somewhat. But I feel more optimistic about the future than I have in probably 15 years, simply because the platform we have will meet the needs of the market. And honestly, there's fewer of us. So there's a little bit better balance between supply and demand than there has been in the last 15 years. Last 15 years, the demand curve shifted down, the supply curve shifted out, and where those intersect is the price level, and that went down. And so it was really tough. And sadly, a lot of us didn't survive.
Yeah. Well, Dwight, I wish you all the best. I really appreciate you spending the time with me. Thank you. And I hope to see you sometime in the future.
Well, I do too. I hope I'm still doing printing as well, but thank you for your interest.